some folks are probably going to think, what do they mean, egg showers? Is it going to be a raining shower? Not quite. Let's explain this. It is so great to have you back on the couch. We have these expert opinions on the couch this evening. Dr. Marie Louise, it is always great to see you on the couch, and we needed your opinion. Say that again.
Good to be here.
That's good to hear. And we have an exciting topic, Dr. Trista. It's always great to see you. The topic that we have for this evening is probably going to surprise some folks because I don't think a lot of people have heard about egg showers before. And some folks are probably going to think, what do they mean, egg showers? Is it going to be a raining shower? Not quite. Let's explain this. Because I will say the first time I read it, I was like, egg shower, what does that mean? Anyway, it's really interesting that the way sort of infertility and infertility science has evolved, that we're starting to normalize certain aspects of the lifestyle. And one of the things that's new, most people are probably very much aware of bridal showers and baby showers, but now we're going to have to add egg showers to the roster. But this brings a little bit of controversy, right? Because egg showers are a little bit different. We know for the most part, even though sometimes you can be wrong, most people who are going to have a bridal shower are probably going to make it down the aisle. Most people who are having a baby shower, for the most part, thankfully, will have a baby at the end of that, right? Let me ask you, ladies, what did you think the first time you heard of a baby shower, of an egg shower?
That kind of skepticism that you're approaching with is kind of the same thing I had, so my whole thing is it's not, I understand the process of getting there because I've gone through that, but in my mind, I'm like, it's not complete. So I'm like, it's kind of one of those things where I know there is cause for celebration of getting to that point. But I guess in my mind, I'm like, the end result I haven't gotten to the end result yet, and there's something also to be said about, while I went through it for a different reason, wasn't necessarily for infertility, but to preserve my fertility. Mm-hmm. There was still that element of, do I want to share that with everyone? There's kind of that expectation of what's at the end, like, okay, what do we get? Bridal shower, at the end, you get the wedding, a
gratification, right?
Yeah, there's like a gratification at the end. And while I'm praying to get that, to get to that point, mm-hmm. It's been 6 years since I did my egg retrieval. So I'm not quite there yet.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
Yeah.
It has been, you guys know I've shared my egg retrieval also multiple times, because clearly I have no problem telling my own business.
Yours to share.
But I'm really good at keeping everybody else's but my own. So you're right, Dr. Marie Louise. It's been a few years now. Oh my gosh, my kids are getting older. My potential, they are getting older. But you're right. People may not necessarily want, for those who are considering it maybe in their early 20s, prior to the start of their careers. And they may not, certainly I did not have the funds in my early 20s. I tell you that. It wasn't even an option. It wasn't even really a thought. But even if it was a thought, it wouldn't have been an option. And so I get this need for financial support and starting your village, people who may know your goals, for those who are infertile, like you mentioned, it's a little bit of a difference between the two groups. People may, invested in your journey or may want to be invested in your journey. But if it's really, like you said, Dr. Louise, to preserve your fertility for the future, and I'm in my early 20s, I may not try to get pregnant until my 30, like a whole decade later. So I may be truly investing in something that I may not necessarily see the return on my investment, not to financialize it, but I don't know how else to say it, the return on my investment at least a decade later. What do you think, Dr. Trista?
So I'm going to chime in as one who has not done egg retrieval, and didn't even think of that as being an option younger. And even when I was struggling to conceive at some point in time, that never seemed like an option at then, didn't even know about it. But when I hear about the term egg shower, I think, yes, okay, they're doing something like the baby shower. But I'll be honest, I did have one, and I understand the point and purpose behind baby showers, but I don't always agree with them.
I see. I was going to bring that up. Some folks have issues with baby showers too.
And I tell you
Go
why.
first.
I think my issue with the baby shower, it's not that we're not celebrating the mom and all that is great, but there's usually an expenditure with not as much of a return. Like if this is supposed to be a time when we are helping to build up what is supposed to be the nest for the baby and everything else, then we can do that. But a lot of the times, and you know, we can't be making demands of people's pockets, but people are going to choose the things that are going to be maybe the least expensive. Depending on how your shower goes, you may get friends and family that kick in and buy you the things that you need that might be on the more expensive side, right? There's the reasonable, like, you know, wish list of things you may want, and then the things that, you know what, I really need these, or you may like this stroller a whole lot, but this one's the cheaper option, or cheaper, you know, whatever. So for me, I've always been kind of like, with baby showers, because I feel like the investment is not indicative of the return. So in my experience, and I'm going to knock on nobody, they know nothing, a baby shower has cost almost $1,000 in investment. And that was supposedly spread amongst people, but yeah, whatever, right? And I don't think that the gifts received came up to $500. Wouldn't, in my mind, I should then take that money and just invest it in actually buying what the parent needs. So for me, the egg shower sounds like the same thing, especially if it is that it's not that we're looking for tangible things so much in terms of something cute for the mom. Like, you know, you're not going to buy her an outfit to go for her egg retrieval day. And even if you did, like, you have 15 people doing this, then you want to change every 15 minutes. Wait, doc, let me just put on this next outfit. Hold on. No. So in my mind, if we want to do something to support, we can support, but let's give the money to them. If it is that we want to support the journey, hey, I'm pledging $100 to, you know, towards your egg retrieval fund.
And I think that's the primary idea of the egg retrieval, is to financially support the cost, because for not all the states, actually most states actually do not have insurance plans that will cover any part of infertility, right? There are some women who can get some infertility coverage because of medical conditions, for example, the need for chemotherapy, but the desire to have children after chemotherapy. But for the most part, a lot of states do not have or provide any aspect of infertility treatment. There are some states that may piecemeal what they will offer, or what insurance companies will offer. So some insurance companies, for example, may offer the testing for infertility workup, but they won't necessarily pay for IVF treatments per se, or any of the costs related to the treatment aspect of it. And even yet, there's some insurance plans that will cover just a part or certain tests. But once you get into more very specialized testing, those additional costs are not covered. So it does vary. But I want to backtrack a little bit to the baby shower aspect, because I do get the sense sometimes that, and I'm not judging them, but I do get the sense that sometimes some moms kind of put their expensive, like, Mercedes-Benz wish on the baby shower registry. And I don't even have, you know, Mercedes-Benz money for myself. So it's sometimes you really want to give someone something very nice, but I'm looking at the list, like, I won't even buy this stuff for myself. Like, I won't even pay for this for myself. And so sometimes it becomes so much more focused on the materialistic aspect of it. And I feel like we've lost track of what really the village is supposed to be. And I'm glad that people are willing to help financially. But sometimes when I speak with my women in the office, I try to refocus really what the true need of a village is. Like, you need help, like, for real help. Okay. And so sometimes I'll say, why don't you do a coupon booklet? And in that coupon booklet, you can get a night off or a night free where someone can come that you trust. So only give your coupons to people that you trust and that are vaccinated or immunized or not a risk to your child. Right?
I co-sign on that one, absolutely.
Like, make sure you're not infecting your kids or have,
Yeah.
irresponsible adults come who are, not taking precautions and may expose your under immunized or non-immunized child. But sometimes giving out coupons to specific close relatives or close friends who may come and give you a weekend stay, who may give you 5 hours to go run your errands, who may give you an overnight stay. Like, I'll stay overnight in the kids' nursery room. I'll camp out on the floor if I have to, and I will watch the baby overnight for you so you can get a full night's rest. I will come do your laundry for you. Do you need me to run groceries? Like, I feel I would like to see gifts like that more often at baby showers than a lot of the materialistic things, where sometimes people are putting things like newborn clothes and your estimated fetal weight is already 8-9 pounds. You're not going to be using those newborns. So if your estimated fetal weight is already a larger size baby, don't put newborn clothes on your baby registry. It's going to be a waste of time. They're not even going to fit it. Okay. Most of them are going to be out of it with one spit up. So I do agree with you that I think we've lost track of really what the purpose of these baby showers should be. Now, going on to the egg showers, I think one of the controversies that would come up for me is, well, do I get a say as to what you do with your eggs if you don't use them? Like, what if you decide later on in life, because life changes and people evolve, right? So I may really want to be a mom today, and then maybe a year from now, 2 years from now, it may not necessarily be as big of a goal for me as a life goal, or things may change. I may get into a relationship and my husband is not interested in having kids and we decide together not to have children. So then do you get a say as to what I do with my eggs, since you now have financially invested in them? Some people may not be comfortable with the discarding of eggs, right? We talked about this on a prior episode, that some people choose to discard the eggs. And for some people, that's a symbolism of similar to an abortion, that they feel that you are discarding life. And so if I'm investing in your egg retrieval, do I get a say? Or do I get the ability to know what your plans are? Do you plan to donate to research? May you donate to a couple? Some people just naturally don't feel comfortable donating for research for a multitude of reasons. Another, like, by trying to be have their cells out there. Henrietta, ain't nobody trying to be another Henrietta Lack. Okay. And so people
These cells are great. Look at that. Right. Oh, they growing.
So there are some, especially amongst women of color, there is some skepticism amongst that, right? And then there are others who may not necessarily, similar, like some people don't feel comfortable with the adoption option if they don't want to parent. Some people may not necessarily feel comfortable with the idea of another couple, another mom carrying her eggs as a donation if she decides not to use them. So then, do I get a say as to what you do with your eggs? I don't get a say as to how you raise your kids when I come to your baby shower, but do I get a say as to what happens to your eggs if I'm going to financially invest in your eggs?
And my answer to that is an emphatic no. It's, when you do that, it's a gift. It's a gift. It's not, same thing like the analogy. If you donate something to my baby shower, you don't get a say in how I raise my child. If you give me a gift for my bridal shower, you sure as heck don't get a say in how I do my marriage. So it would be the same thing. Like, if you give it, it's a gift. It's a gift. Mm-hmm. And you're saying, you are investing in me. You're not investing necessarily in the egg, but you're investing in me and what I'm trying to do. So when it comes down to, what I do, when I do, how I do, again, then you have to really, consider, do you really want to give this person this gift, right? If you feel the need to say, I need to be this involved in this person's life, that's a different level, right? When you start telling me, like, when am I going to do it? When are you going to start, when are you going to do the IVF? But that's different, right? So now we have like a relationship, and that's not what we're in, right? You were donating out of the kindness of your heart. You were giving me a gift. And what I've always learned is that when I give someone a gift, it's not up to me to figure out what that person does with that gift, right? I
Right.
You better
did
say
it
that
out
one
of,
more time.
yeah, I
Right.
did it out of the kindness of my heart. And then after that, whatever that person does, whether it's good or bad, God deals with that, right? Like that's not for me to judge, right? So I give it. You don't have a say in how I use it.
I don't have a say with finding out how you use it, because that may determine whether or not I choose to invest in it.
Then don't.
Right. I guess you won't be my investor then.
Oh.
I guess
Then
you won't
don't.
be my investor. Yeah, I can't.
But
Again,
But here's the
I
other
have
part.
so many people I need to answer to. I can't answer. I mean, this is something that's so. There's so many twists and turns to this whole thing, right? Like for me, like I said, when I first got into this, my whole thought was, okay, I'm doing this because surely within the next year or so, I'll find someone, we'll do all that. But what if you don't agree? Because as of now, I'm thinking of going through this on my own, doing solo. Maybe someone doesn't agree with that, right? So I'm looking at donor sperm and doing it that way. Be like, no, you can't be an intentional single mom. Like,
yeah,
Why not?
The church mothers may be judging.
Trust me, in my mind, I'm like, so how are we going to explain this? Because again, do I have to explain it? Do I need to go? But that's the thing. So when you start talking about, and I think that's something for people to consider too, when they say, I want to have this, egg shower, how much do you want to bring people into this decision of yours?
See,
Because
that's a
what
good
you think
point.
it might be, what you think your life might look like, like I said, 6 years ago is not what it looks like, 6 years now.
Right.
So again, if and to the flip side to that, I understand, how expensive it is too. I mean,
Yeah.
fortunately enough, I work in a state where a lot of this stuff was covered, so I work in New Jersey. So New Jersey does have a compassionate care law. So in the state of, even though I live in Pennsylvania, I work in New Jersey, and that's where my insurance comes from. Yeah, they covered. And there was a part of me was like, oh, wait, what? That's okay, whatever. But it was covered,
I'm moving to New Jersey
medications.
and Chicago. Mhm.
Come on down, right? Come on. Yeah, so medications were covered, all that,
That's awesome.
so it definitely gave me the opportunity to look at this early on. But at the same
That's
time,
awesome.
yeah, at the same time, there's a sort of kind of uncertainty going through that I don't know what I need to do. So I can't rely on, okay, let me go double check with, all my investors and see what they think. I can't do that.
Not gonna happen. I'm so glad that you mentioned that Jersey is one of those states, and we will list below the states that have some coverage and try to give you as much as a complete list as possible for those who are watching this video, and also to know that there are grants out there that you can apply for couples who are dealing with infertility issues, and there are some pharmaceutical companies that have drug programs that will give you a reduced price based on your financials. That being said, that still doesn't cover for most people the bulk of the cost, and it's still a very expensive goal or expensive objective. And keep in mind, this is the average. It's usually about 12,000, 15,000 per round that you do it. And some people may not get a lot of eggs retrieved with the first retrieval try and may have to do 2 or 3 retrievals. So now, the math is mathing, right? It's very, very expensive. But what about the argument that some people may say, because, we be judging our folks' motherhoods and fertilities 24/7. If you can't afford the infertility, how are you going to afford the baby? If you can't afford the infertility treatment or the egg retrieval, how are you going to afford the baby? What about that argument? Like, why am I investing in your egg fund? How do I know that you're even going to be able to afford the baby later? Because kids are expensive. Diapers alone, wipes alone. You have a gender reveal, make the blues bring you wipes, make the pinks bring you Pampers, okay? Because those alone are extreme. How expensive are those, Dr. Trissa, wipes and Pampers?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't remember anymore. My son has been out of diapers now 4 years or something. I don't remember no more. All I know is that they cost.
That's how you end up having another one. You forget all the stuff.
And then, unless they sitting on that boob, you got to go pay for that stupid formula every time. Like,
It's
expensive. But you know what? You may also be able to get more support for them. then you can. Like, yes, it's through the state aid or whatever. They will try not to have your kids starve. So if it comes down to it, yeah, you can get assistance for it. But do we want to really judge who can be a parent based on what they earn?
And it's different too. I mean, you're talking about spending
We are
$12,000.
A lot
But
of
I think
folks
you're
are
talking about spending $12,000 in one chunk. You know, like you're not spending $12,000 on a baby in 1 month.
We hope
Yes,
not.
there's something about, there's true. But there's
I
something
was
about
about to say I had to pause before answering that.
But okay, if we're talking about, normal
Realistic
healthy
day to
baby,
day.
it's over day to day. It's over. I mean, truth be told, there's certain things that you may not necessarily need to go. You don't need to go and spend all that money on the massive expensive crib, right? You can get a bassinet and kind of work your way up. I mean, there's, so again, there's this question about, Dr. Trissa brought it up. When you start buying all, spending all these things for the strollers and all that, do you really need all that gear? Right? When you start spending all the money on the clothes, do you really need all those clothes? I mean, think of the baby's basic needs. You can meet those, but you're not spending it all in one fell swoop. When you start talking about treatment, it's one fell swoop. I mean, me going through the clinic, they'll tell you, make sure you have all your money ready at the time of your treatment so we can continue. Like at the time, not like, let me. I mean, they do have financing options, and Dr. T did bring up the fact that there are some grant programs out there. But again, if you're financing it, that's different. It's different trying to come up with that money at one time versus caring for the baby over time. So again, I don't think that's basically saying so people who are lower income shouldn't have kids.
There are lots of people who believe that, unfortunately.
There are people who believe that. And
a lot of people who believe that.
Absolutely, where they're like, why are you having so many babies? Why are you having people judge all aspects of women's fertility, every aspect, from how many babies you have to the timing of your behavior, your timing of your childbearing. Go ahead, Dr. Trissa, what else are we judging?
So whether or not you even can have, or whether or not you want to have, and if you decide to be a non-birthing person versus if you decide that you get judged.
You're going to use a surrogate,
if you do, then if you don't, so you might as well do you.
You're either too young or you're too old. There is no in between. There's this arbitrary crossover. So there are so many aspects. Oh, you're having babies with him. It's about your partner then. It's like, there's so many aspects of women's fertility that we judge constantly, that I think we put these unnecessary pressures. And unfortunately, people do judge people's finances, whether or not they feel that they should be able to afford kids, or whether or not they should go for the next child or the child after that. And the same thing with baby showers. There are people who will judge, you had a baby shower for the first one, we really gonna have a baby shower for the second one and the third one? Let's talk about it.
I do say that one though. We had one for your first one. You got all the stuff you need. You reuse.
But what if I had a boy the first time and the second time I'm having a girl?
That's your issue.
Yeah,
kids don't care what they wear.
See, that's all right. Y'all do have some level. We are all guilty of some level of judgment.
The other thing that I was thinking about. So if you are investing in someone's egg shower, do they still do a baby shower?
I was going to ask y'all that.
That was my very first thought.
I'm glad you brought it up.
Do an egg shower, are we doing a baby shower?
I may be side-eyeing you.
And depending on the person, they may not think that way. They may think, I want all the stuff. I want everything and then some.
Every aspect of my journey.
I get that it's the celebration, but I feel like there we can find different ways of celebrating, like I said, that do not require a huge investment of money to throw a party that does not equate when you think of party and the amount of money in return for product or gifts or whatever else that it is that we would have gotten from it. So
a really, really interesting point. I think there are people who may, side eye you if you have if I am supporting your egg fund and then you want me to turn around and have baby number one, embryo number one, baby shower, embryo number two, baby shower. Like
it works.
You asking for a lot. I say, if you're having an egg fund, you get a sip and tea. And we're not having a major sip and tea at the at the Grand Hyatt, we're
Right,
having a sip of tea in the backyard of somebody's home with truly just some finger sandwiches and literally some tea. And everybody come see the baby, welcome the baby, and that's it. Because I think
yay.
it's first of all, times are rough. People are having a rough time. I think, especially in this political, social climate, economic climate specifically, where people are struggling financially, even though the numbers are looking good. But people are still, not really spending as much for even themselves. So I think, we need to have realistic and really considerate expectations. Like I get the fertility journey, and I think it's quite humbling to go through infertility and then turn around and have an egg shower. I think that's very, very humbling. Because like Dr. Louise said, I think it's hard to disclose to people something so personal, and you'll have to disclose it if it's an infertility related egg shower as opposed to a preservation of my infertility. I think it's very,
fertility.
say that again.
Preservation of fertility.
Preservation of fertility, sorry. I think it's very humbling to have to come to people and say, hey, I don't have the funds after going through. And sometimes it may be that you went through and spent a whole lot of money doing other types of infertility treatments and evaluations that were not covered because you don't live in Jersey, you don't live in Illinois. And so you have to go out of pocket to pay for this entire workup. And now you've gotten to the point where you need to retrieve eggs, create your embryo, and you don't have the money. I think that's quite humbling. And I think it's also humbling for those who, may have come to the decision where you don't want to include a partner. You want to do this on your own. And however, it's financially hard to do on your own. So you're creating this village. I think it's a beautiful idea to start your village early. I love that idea. I love the idea of community. I think we need more opportunities to form communities for people. But I definitely think make sure you understand who you're bringing into your community, because not everybody needs to know your business like that.
Absolutely. And I don't think not everyone even understands what you're doing sometimes too. Just like, this is what we brought up, the whole judgment aspect of it, right? So sometimes when you're going through that, the last thing you need is more opinions. So I definitely agree with that.
You're so right. You're so right. So I would say to each his own. If this is something you want to do, then I would say be very conscientious about who you're inviting, who you're disclosing your business to, and be very clear and create healthy boundaries. Like Dr. Louise said, you don't get to know the details of my business. You just get to know we're raising some funds for some eggs. You don't get to know what my sperm donor details look like. Who am I choosing?
Like not him.
Right.
Like not him. We don't like him. Pick that one.
Right. You don't get to be involved in that aspect. You don't get to be involved in telling me when the time is near. So if you're an older person in my life, you don't get to tell me what time I need to start having my kids, because you're not sure how long you're going to be around. I love when old people be packing up like real quick. They be like, I need to, like, I have some amazing women in my life, but they be counting that clock down. Like, listen, when you go have some kids, because I don't know how long I'm going to be around. Like, did Jesus call? Did you promise about God? Was there an announcement? Like, where are you going?
Like, I worry about my timeline and your timeline. Like, wait a minute.
Did you get a memo? He sent you a memo? But that's my recommendation for them. What would you ladies leave with someone who may be contemplating an egg shower?
Like I would say, if you're going to do an egg shower, I mean, first kind of, be clear on yourself, on what the reality is, before you go off and do this and present it to everyone, So I'm a planner, someone, went to high school, I know where I'm going to go to college, went to college, went to med school. So, there's definitely something to be said about, being, intentional and knowing what your plan is, right? Before you put it out there. I think there's one of those things where it's one thing to kind of not quite know for yourself, but there is something to say when you start, like, again, start bringing people in. So be intentional, right? Be intentional and kind of know, and say, like, if you're not sure, put it out there. I'm not sure. If you haven't, put it out there, so that, again, everyone's kind of on a basic page, right? A basic outline. So I would definitely say be intentional.
I like that.
I don't know if I have any words to say. I'm still wrapping my mind around the concept.
She's like, I am not sold on this quite yet.
No,
But
I'm literally, you see, I'm not sold in showers either, but I'm wrapping my mind around the concept because, the desire would be that there's a baby that comes. So for me, it becomes kind of a, no, I'm not saying do anything in any kind of secretive way or whatever the case may be, but when will you need the most help? Is it going to be for that purpose, or when if and when there's a child that comes out of it? So keep in mind when you want, I guess maybe like when you want to involve people, when you want to get people more involved. Is it going to be, because you may go and yes, get the investments and you guys have fun, and then when it's time to actually have the child and whatever the situation may be, and those relationships have all changed, because that happens.
That's
and when are you going to want these people around? You're going to hope that they stay in your village, but the reality is not all things stay.
Right.
That's
one could be different in year 3. That support piece, that is important, because at one point there's certain things you can't do on your own. I'm very independent, but when it came out doing the egg retrieval, I couldn't do that by myself. I needed someone to come with me because they use anesthesia, right? So yeah, you definitely have to think about that, right? Where are people involved? Where are they willing, or take out the money? Are people willing to invest their time, right? Their time in what you're trying to do? Because I, fortunate enough, I was able to get my sister to come down from New York, and she was the one who drove me both times, right, to go through that. So yeah, so when you're doing that, don't think this investment of money, but think of who's willing to invest time into what you're trying to do, not just for that portion, but even beyond, because that's important. That's valuable too.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, and that's exactly what I had in mind, was to really stress about compassion burnout, right? So some people, if you're constantly going to people and tapping into their compassion towards you, there's some people who get burnt out with compassion, and so they may be very motivated, and don't be disappointed because they may be very motivated for the egg retrieval because it's novel, it's new, you're on this new journey, and everyone's excited for you. But don't be surprised if when the baby's here, they're not as excited. People get burned out eventually.
It's it's one of those things where you have to look at the whole thing in total, right? So again, it's great, and I understand why people would celebrate that part of it, of getting to the point of, yes, here we are, we're doing the egg thing, because again, it's a huge thing, but it's only part way. That's half the journey. There's this other half that you have to go through.
Right.
So be wise. There's still that other piece.
Yeah. There's such great points. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I'm 100%. I get the reasoning behind it because it is very expensive. I'm just not sure yet if I'm completely sold on the egg shower specifically. Because I guess for me, it was a very private experience. And so it's hard to imagine sharing that with a bunch of folks. Yeah, even afterwards, it took me a little bit to start to share with people. So I guess maybe that's the aspect of it that I'm not 100% comfortable with, but I know there are a lot of people who are very comfortable sharing their journey, sharing every detail of their journey. And it's also for me because I did it older and I didn't know what was going to be the outcome. So here comes the additional burden of going through the process. People invested, and what if you get not many eggs retrieved? Right. And now you have to deal with sharing that disappointment with others. And are you then going to be able to afford another round? What if all you raised was to support one cycle?
Right.
And go through another cycle, and you didn't really, because it's hard to predict how your ovaries are going to respond. What if you don't get much out of it? And now are people going to want to know how many eggs were retrieved? You have to share it out. According to Dr. Louis, no, they don't need to know all that information. But I think there is still a heaviness when you know people have invested in that and you didn't get it's already hard enough if you didn't get the number of eggs that you wanted. To deal with that disappointment by yourself is a lot. But I think then to also have the additional burden of knowing that people invested in that process and the outcome was not successful.
One, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dr. Trissa.
I was just saying, I was thinking, because we are not of the what is this generation called? We are not the what are they called? Millennials?
We call them a lot of things.
Millennials, Gen Z, all those.
Whatever the case may be.
The microwave generation, the lack of gratification generation, like the stay-at-home parent generation, like which title you want?
I don't. The now. Could it be
the now?
Could it
the now
be
generation.
A product of the way that we are raised, that it's become so much more public?
Absolutely.
Because you guys are the same generation and you guys share a lot of the same beliefs. Okay, granted, we know each other, we love each other, whatever. Anyway, all of that. But are we finding this being
they are
popular?
different. Is that what you're saying?
Are we finding this more popular in the younger demographic?
It is, because they have no filter, no boundaries. Not to talk about y'all like that, but y'all different. Y'all definitely
they are very accustomed to sharing everything. Social media
has the social media generation.
So it's
share.
It's become an influencer, raise funds that way, do this. So
yeah.
I'm wondering if that is probably playing a big role, because granted, I don't know. I don't know anyone personally who's ever decided on an egg shower. I know you two ladies and the egg retrieval portion of things. And I've heard stories and I've had other people talk about wanting to do this or potentially do this, but it's always been like a small group something. It's never been on Facebook, well, making a decision on my egg retrieval today, or, they're not the type that's going to put every last detail of their life in for the public consumption.
Right.
So I'm wondering if there's a little bit of that's playing into
generational aspect.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think you may be right. Yeah. It may be generational. Maybe that's why I'm officially now older. So I guess I have to succumb to the fact that this could be something that has now officially distinguished me from the now younger generation. Okay. But that being said, thank you, ladies, for joining on for this topic. I think you've definitely left us with a lot to think about. And for those who are maybe considering out there, I think we've covered a good wide range of thoughts that people really should consider before proceeding with undergoing even just egg retrieval in general, but then also dealing with raising a fund publicly. So if they want to find out more about what you think about the next generation, Dr. Trissa, where can they find you?
TrissaJob.dpt on Instagram.
Awesome. And Dr. Louis Marie, if they need to find out when they can move to Jersey,
right.
They need to move to get covered. Where can they find you?
I am a family medicine physician at Cooper University Hospital. So if you look up cooperuniversity.org, you will see me there as one of the family medicine physicians. And again, I think the beauty is that it's out there, the information is there. So I think more and more people are willing to have that conversation. So if you want to have that conversation, here I am.
And I think that's great. I think the fact that we're even having the conversation is great. And I am Dr. T, the officially now older doctor.
We'll join you, Dr.
On the handle of HealthyBump.club on Instagram and Healthy Bump Club here on our base at YouTube. We thank you for watching this episode. We hope you found it to be very informative and hopefully help you on your personal fertility journey. And when you're done, you can go back to the conversation Dr. Trissa and I had about all the legal aspects as to what happens with your eggs, if you use them, don't use them, if
That
you
was
split up with
wild.
a guy and y'all are no longer together and you have some embryos frozen. Oh my gosh, there's so much to think about. Make sure you check out that conversation and so many others. And if you want to support us financially, we thank you for purchasing our gear of HBC Village gear and also supporting us through our Apple Music partnership link. And when you're done there, make sure you come back and join us for the next episode. Y'all in.